talk some artificial intelligence, key theme here in Davos. And first, right here on CNBC is Anthropic's co-founder and CEO, Dario Modi. It's great to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
And you're a first-timer here in Davos.
My first time here, yes.
Before we even get into it, what do you think of all this craziness?
It's pretty crazy.
It's about as crazy as you think. Let's talk AI, because that is, you know, there's Trump and there's AI. Seems like those are the two topics here in Davos. And I would start with this. The big question in AI land is, are we hitting a wall, right? I mean, I still think that topic is up for debate. We've heard Sam Altman say there is no wall. We've heard from Google saying we might be getting closer to one. You've sort of hinted around the edges that we might have something, we might be hitting something, but I don't know.
So I've been in this field for 10 years. I've worked at all the major companies, including Google, including OpenAI. Me and some of my collaborators were the first ones to document what are called scaling laws, which is the observation that as you pour more compute into AI systems, they get generally better and better. And throughout that 10 years, there have been maybe 5 or 6 times in those 10 years where we thought that we were hitting a wall, where we thought that something didn't work. And, you know, within a few months, something slightly different was invented. Either we didn't actually hit a block or something slightly different was invented that let us get around it. The scaling of AI, it feels like this river that, you know, every once in a while it runs into a stone, but it'll always finds a way to go around.
It's hitting a stone to you right now?
It absolutely does not. In fact, right now I am more confident than I have ever been at any previous time that we are very close to powerful capabilities. Throughout the 10 years that I've been working in this field, I've always said, you know, I don't know for sure. This is the direction it seems like it's going in. We could be getting to very powerful or human-level systems. I still think there's uncertainty. I think it's important to be humble. But over the last 6 months, I would say that uncertainty, for me, has decreased a great deal.
And gets to where? Gets to AGI or gets to something else? And that's artificial general intelligence.
Yeah. AGI has never been a well-defined term for me. I've always thought of it as a marketing term. But, you know, the way I think about it is at some point we're going to get to AI systems that are better than almost all humans at almost all tasks. The term I've used for it in an essay I recently wrote is a country of geniuses in a data center. It's a sort of evocative phrase for all the power and all the positive things and, you know, all of the potential negative things. That's the thing that I think we are quite likely to get in the next 2 or 3 years. I don't know exactly when, but the things that I've seen inside Anthropic and out of it over the last few months lead me to believe that we are on the trajectory.
One of the things that you've done that I think is remarkable is you have effectively taught, or maybe it's taught itself, effectively how to use a computer. Meaning rather than have APIs and have to go directly into things, that effectively it can go and use a mouse and find the things that it needs to go off and do. How game-changing is that?
Yeah, so the way I think of computer use, which is what we call that capability, is I think of it as the first step towards a broader vision. So our picture of the broader vision is we are planning this year in 2025 to build something that we call the virtual collaborator. And the idea is that would be an agent that operates on your computer, on a computer, might operate at work. And you can give it tasks. You can say, you know, write this feature for this app. And, you know, it'll write some code. It'll compile the code. It'll check the code. It'll talk to its coworkers on Slack or on Google Docs or on some other platform. It'll check in with you to see how to see how the task is progressing. So over the next year, we're going to be gradually putting out the pieces of this vision. And along with that, you know, making sure it's safe and controllable and all of those things. And I think of computer use as the first piece of that vision. We initially released it a few months ago. It was an early prototype. You know, it was good for its time, but we are quickly going to be iterating on that, but also on other pieces of the grand virtual collaborator.
Let me ask you a question about processing power. And the example I use is actually what Elon has done with XAI. It is remarkable to me that XAI, I don't want to say has caught up to what you're doing or what OpenAI is doing, but he's gotten pretty close pretty quickly. And it raises a question about whether these large language models ultimately get commoditized, that there's a special sauce that you have, and Sam Altman's got, everyone's got their own special sauce, but that it is, if you have enough NVIDIA chips, you too can build a large language model.
Yes. So first of all, I think not a lot of people are going to have enough chips. So I believe Elon has built, what is it, 100,000 chips. We're using Amazon's Trainium chips and Google's TPU chips. But this year we plan to have, I think it was announced at Amazon's conference, we plan to have several 100,000 of these chips ready by a few months from now. So I think that will already limit it to a relatively small number of players. Within that, I think there are a lot of sources of differentiation. Every model is different. So one of the things we hear about Claude is that people really like its character. People like interacting with Claude. People ask Claude for relationship advice, for help dealing with their problems, much more so than the other models.
Yes,
One of the
and
things...
I can attest to that, by the way. I've played with it, and it is a much more sort of personalized and friendly service for some reason.
One of the things that struck me most about this was there was a blog post from Stanford Medical School about a week ago, and they looked into, I believe it was radiologists that they studied, who they showed the radiological images to the models, and they said, what do you, can this help with diagnosis? So there were two separate kind of axes on which they measured them. How accurate is the diagnosis? And many of the models had accurate diagnoses. But second, how likely was the radiologist to actually follow the model's recommendation? And in that area, Claude won head and shoulders above the others, because something about the way Claude was interacting with the radiologists made the radiologists more willing to listen to Claude.